Social shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's some social shit for everyone, you know what I'm saying? Like, I made this be myself, so hear me. Woo! I mean, like, we can put all that clown shit away. There's some real shit for you. I'm spazzing right now, so listen, let's go. Yeah. It's in their bones, the thugs in harmony for the love of the money. Then fall victim for the cookie, then turn pussy, it's lonely. You said you hold it down when life get rough, we're here now, so show me. We move them losses to them wins. Heavy pounds, we make it ends meet. Converse with only few who make me feel like I be 10 feet.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. Big up your damn selves, guys. Just before we start today's video, we are so close to that 2,000 mark. As I said, guys, let's start off the 2025 with a bang. Let's get to 2K. So if you haven't subscribed already, please make sure you head on over to that subscribe button, click that, sit back, watch the video, smash a like, smash a dislike, I don't mind, do your thing, and we can get the ball rolling. As I said, we will be starting the membership as soon as we hit 2K. Now on to the actual video. So obviously this weekend has been the FA Cup weekend, so we're seeing quite a lot of these Premier League teams facing off against some of the lower league teams. You know, we're seeing National League teams taking Premier League teams, you know, all the way to extra time. You know, we're seeing some Premier League teams struggling to get victories, and we have seen Arsenal get knocked out of the FA Cup. So it has been a brilliant weekend all round, and this is the magic of the FA Cup. But one of the main things that I think has been a big takeaway has been, of course, it being the FA Cup, it being a cup competition. You know, you're always going to see, you know, managers trying different players, trying new players, potentially even trying a new system, a new formation, you know, seeing how players can potentially fit in with the first team, or seeing how certain players, you know, gel together and things like that. And in regards to Liverpool, what we have seen is these three players on the screen, amongst other players as well, but these three players in particular. And that's kind of the, obviously you guys can see the title of the video, and it's, you know, how far can some of these youngsters actually go at Liverpool? You know, we've got Trey and ENNY, we've got 𝐷𝐼𝐴 and 𝐷𝐼𝐴, and then we've got Jadon Danns. Guys, let me know before we of course get into it, how far do you think these guys can actually go? There is only one place to start, and that is with Rio, Mr. Ngoma himself, making his Liverpool debut at the age of 16. I believe he's actually the youngest player to play for Liverpool in the FA Cup, I believe. I could be wrong, apologies if I am wrong, but I'm sure I saw that stat flying around. And to be honest with you, you know, watching him play, you know, you can tell that there's a player in there. You can really see that there is a really good player, you know, potentially, you know, in there. He's got all the kind of tools, you know. Of course, you know, he lasted longer on the pitch than I actually assumed he would do. I only thought he would stay on, you know, just for that first half, but you know, he really put in a shift, you know, down that left hand side. You can see straight away with the way that he plays exactly what he's trying to do. You can tell the type of player, you know, that he is, and it's really just about how he can develop and, you know, what he can potentially develop into. Is he going to be someone who is, he looks like someone who's probably more of a creator than a goal scorer. I mean, I'm just taking that for, you know, the performances I've seen for him, you know, for the youth teams and things like that. Even when he was still at Chelsea, he definitely looks like that kind of player, you know, someone who's going to set up the goal. He's going to do all the nasty work. He's going to do all the dirty work. Of course, he'll get his goals, you know, every now and again, but he's the one who's going to be an absolute havoc, you know, down that left-hand side. And to be honest with you, you need about 2 to 3 players to mark him. And that was one of the things that I kind of took away from the game, was that he was always enticing the Accrington Stanley, you know, players, whether it be the midfielders or the defenders. You know, that was just in his game. Now, of course, listen, it's Accrington Stanley, it's League 2. I get all of that. And it's not really to, would I say, you know, go over the top with any level of praise. Of course, at the end of the day, he made his debut, so I think he did pretty well, you know, for making a debut. And, you know, you were, you know, part of a winning team, so, you know, definitely thumbs up in that regards. But I think when you're looking at this kind of player, I genuinely believe, and again, watching him obviously more so in the youth teams, and I know youth and men's football is totally different, but watching him in both, he plays the exact same way. Sometimes players, they come through the first team and things like that, and they get a little bit, a little bit shy in terms of what they've normally done, and he doesn't seem like a player like that at all. He really does not seem like someone who is going to change up too much of what he does, and what he does best, which is he wants to go and draw you up 1v1. That's exactly what he wants to do. 1v1s, let's go. Me versus you. Can you get the ball off of me? And to be honest with you, once he, gets a little bit older, a little bit more experienced in certain situations, as long as he doesn't ever lose that kind of fearless behavior, it's going to be difficult trying to get the ball off this guy. I promise you, really, really difficult. And I think when I'm looking at him, again, like I said, not trying to go over the top, I do think that there is a player in there. How far he goes, I have no idea. Of course, so many things have to, go your way, injuries and, form, and, is there even a space for him, potentially in there? But I think, making your kind of first step into the men's game, especially with Liverpool Football Club, it's a big thing, man. It's a really, really big thing. And I think, listen, he did well, in his performance. And I think, looking at him, close ball control, good dribbling ability, he's got a bit of pace about him. He seems to actually understand when to do certain things, in terms of the tricks and the skills that he does try. One thing I probably would say is he needs to probably understand that ultimately, with this being the men's game, of course, it's a lot more tactical than it would be at youth level. So, you might need to release it just a few more times, a bit quicker at times. But again, that's all going to come with experience. And I think once he gets all of that, and I'm asking for a lot, I guess. But if he wants to, he spoke about winning the Ballon d'Or and things like that. If he really wants to get to that level, I think these are the little things, and it's not really a lot, little things you can see. Once he just improves those, even just by a little margin, you'll see he'll be on a really, really upward trajectory. And I think, if all goes well, I think Liverpool got a real potential star, in their team. Another player I really, really like the look of, and of course he's had a lot more first team minutes than Rio, is of course Trey ENNY. Now, with Trey, I think obviously we saw him during pre-season, a couple of the games in there, and I think you could really see, okay, this guy, he's pretty decent. Of course, last season getting his debut under 𝐬𝐭 Klopp and everything, wasn't really much that we could really take away, other than the fact that we've seen him in the youth level. And if I'm being honest, at youth level, again, just like Rio, these guys, they're making it look a bit too easy. Now, of course, with that, I just want people to understand, as we all know, when it comes to youth level football, it does not translate in the same way that some players probably think it in their head because of how easy it is. But also, they don't really understand that because of the way youth football is kind of set up, academy football is kind of set up, there is a reason why, there is going to be this kind of block in terms of why it's not translating over in, to the men's game and things like that. It takes more than what you actually do on the football pitch. And I say that with Trey, and I say that with Rio, and I say that with any, really, really good young player, the Lamine Yamals of this kind of world, the Gavis, these kind of players. The reason why Jamal Musiala, the reason why it's so easy for them to be able to transition is because it's more than what's actually on the pitch. You've got to learn and be able to understand that you got to keep going again and again and again and again. And with Trey, I feel like he's got that in him. I really do. I feel like he's got that mentality of a player who will keep going again and again. If that pass didn't work, I'm going again. I'm making sure. Of course, he plays in midfield, so of course he's got to do a bit more running than, say, your average attacker, for example. But he goes again. He's always making sure he's an option. He always wants the ball. It's these little things, at times. And it seems like he's someone who, of course, we don't hear him speak much of, so we can't, it's difficult to really gauge the type of man or type of, player that he actually is at such a young age. But you can see with he brings out that maturity on the pitch. He looks like he's probably in, if I'm being honest with you, he looks like a year 6, year 7, like a really tall year 7. But if I'm being honest, he plays like someone who's been playing this game for about 7-8 years minimum. You know, he plays with such a level of maturity, and that's all in the mind. That is all in the mind. Players who play like that, it's always all in the mind anyway. You know, in terms of why they're so good on the pitch, why they look like it's so effortless, the certain things that they do, which, by the way, isn't even effortless in terms of it's not an easy thing that they're actually doing. And I feel like with Trey, he is one of those players. He is an absolute baller. Really, really like him. I think he's probably the best player or academy player that we've actually got, if I'm being honest with you. When I look at a player and I think to myself, in terms of, I'd be so shocked if he does not make it at Liverpool, and the only reason I could think that that would happen is purely because he feels he's gonna get game time elsewhere. We're not willing to give him the game time when he wants it, and he moves to another football club, and then he blossoms his career from there. That's the only way. A bit like a Romeo Lavia, if I'm being honest with you. I feel like it'd be like that type of situation. But I mean, if you've watched him in the youth football, I'll be honest, that doesn't even impress me as much as it does anytime I see him play for Liverpool, the senior team. Every single time, this guy does not make you think that there is a young player on the pitch. You know, of course, with Rio, because of the type of player that he is, in terms of he likes the tricks, he likes the skills, he likes to take on a man. You know, sometimes you'll watch it and think to yourself, you know what? Yeah, he's kind of young. You know, he's just Trey. There isn't that. You really do not. For me personally, I do not even see the difference when he's on the pitch in comparison to other players. You know, and it's probably good that he's got like a Ryan Gravenberch who's actually performing to the levels that we hoped that he would, that he's got that person to kind of look up to, because they can play almost in that kind of similar mold. And of course, other players out there, you know, in terms of in the game of football, that I think he could definitely copy. And I think when I'm looking at someone like Trey, I just think to myself, you are honestly a star in the making, and I would love to see someone like him, you know, make it through, of course, the academy and everything, which he's already done. To be honest with you, like for me, he could be considered a squad option player, and I don't think that's even too much possibly to give him. Of course, needs to fill out potentially, but hey, listen, you know, you looked at Busquets. I'm sure they told him he needed to fill out as well, and look at the play he turned out. Now, I'm not saying that he's on the, you know, Sergio Busquets kind of level, but what I am saying though is that he is a phenomenal player. He's my like star player that I look at and think, yeah, this guy, put him in a team, I've got no worries. I don't care who we're playing, put him in. I'm more than confident that he would have a good game. But if he doesn't, then he doesn't. You know what I mean? It is what it is. You know, there's probably going to be other factors that might, you know, be the reason, to be honest with you, as to why. It's not going to be because he lacks experience. He honestly is a young person with an old head. And as they say, those are the wisest people, you know, out there. But yeah, really, Trey is someone I think can go to the moon with his ability alone and his maturity on the pitch, his skill set. You know, he's got good ball control, he's got a good passing range, he knows when to go, knows when to stay, positional awareness, of course, really good. He's just a really good player, man, a phenomenal youngster, and I think that's definitely someone that Liverpool should really be looking at. I know you've got players like Bajcetic and stuff like that. For me, he's better than Bajcetic, if I'm being totally honest with you. I think he's a far more mature player than someone like a Stefan Bajcetic. Not to say he's not, you know, going to do his thing, but I think this is the one that you really do start to, you know, permanently look at. And last but definitely not least, we do have Jayden Danns, Mr. Danns. Hey, this guy, as I tweeted the other day, and as I said the other day, he's making it extremely hard not to judge a certain number 9 at this football club. And let's keep it a buck, he's actually making it difficult to not judge any of the other strikers that we actually have, you know, at this football club, because Jayden Danns scored again, you know, at the weekend against Accrington Stanley, scored in the FA Cup last season as well, scored a double actually, you know, this time coming off the bench, you know, getting his goal, his customary goal, you know, in the FA Cup. We might as well start calling it that now. But, you know, honestly, all jokes aside, Jayden Danns, I think, is a very good striker at youth level, to be fair. Again, just like Trey, just like Rio, just like a few others, to be fair. You know, it's easy for him. It's easy. These guys, you can tell that they're they're already above that level of the game, if that kind of makes sense. You know, they're already at a stage where you can kind of say, okay, you're kind of above this level. We can see that, you know, we don't need to see any more in order for us to make that, you know, assessment, so to speak. Obviously, you'd only be doing it more just to, you know, keep getting game time and things like that, and, you know, with their ages. But I think with someone like Jayden Danns, you know, just because of his age, I think he'd be ready for a loan move, most definitely, especially this January transfer period as well. You know, at the beginning of the season, it did look like he was going to go out on loan, you know, and we thought, okay, you know what, we'll see what Danns is made of. Of course, playing men's football, you know, week in, week out, where you're going to have poor games. You are going to have poor games. Unless you're, you know, Haaland in his first season at Manchester City, or you're Lionel Messi in his first season at Barcelona, you know, it's going to be difficult for you regardless of who you are. So it was always going to be interesting. But then, of course, he picked up that injury, and then, you know, it's been a long kind of return for him. But I think this January, if the club was smart, if he was smart, you go out on loan straight away. Get those minutes in as soon as possible. Come back in the summer, and then you're really looking at the team and saying, why can't I force my way into the team? You know, especially if you have a, you know, brilliant second half of the season, you know. And again, I'm not here to put any targets on his back or anything like that, but as an example, let's say go somewhere, whatever level, whether it be League One, Championship, another Prem team. Personally, I would prefer if you actually probably went to like a League One or Championship, to be honest with you, because going to another Prem team, depending on who you go to, you know, it is quite a lot, and I just don't think he's ready for that at this current moment in time. But go somewhere, you get yourself 10 goals between now and the end of the season. Blimey, you know, straight away, everyone, you know, you're kind of hot property. You know, if I'm being honest, you get 10 goals between now and the end of the season. Anybody, even in the Premier League, if you do that, you know, people are looking at you straight away. We've seen it, you know, many a time. So for someone like Jayden Danns, I do definitely think that a loan move would obviously work best for him. I think, you know, going out on loan, getting that experience, I do genuinely believe that he is ready for that kind of loan move. I don't think just because we have so many attackers, and I just don't know, unless he really does not trust the number 9 that we've currently got in Darwin Núñez, or, you know, Diogo Jota, you know, his injury records, you know, it's poor and things like that. I mean, that's 2 players already that you might potentially want to discount. If that is the case, then I would just, you know, then you can keep him, not a problem. But if not, I just feel like with players like him, they just need to always be playing. You know, strikers need to kind of always stay sharp. I don't think it's the same as it would be for, you know, wingers or midfielders, so to speak. Not to say that no player needs to be sharp, of course you do, but I just don't think it's the same level of sharpness that you need. When you're playing up front, you need to always be in that kind of rhythm in order for you to, you know, score, because goals are your currency at the end of the day. You know, you don't score, I promise you've gone from being a great youth team striker like a Ryan Brewster, for example, to someone who now you're trying to figure out, can he play in midfield? Can he play, you know, right wing? You know, where else can we fit him in the team? Because we know he's got some type of talent, and I just don't really want that for someone like Jayden Danns. I think he is a phenomenal player. He's another one, I'd probably put him just behind someone like Trey, and I think he is ready for that first team football. It's just about a case of where, and I think just because Liverpool kind of liked, I would say, so to speak, in that midfield area, in terms of quality more than anything, not even numbers, because we probably do have the numbers, but quality wise, I don't know. But then again, I could make a case for the attack as well in terms of the striker position, and say, again, in terms of quality, is it really there? I don't know. You know, listen, it depends on which side of the fence you kind of sit on. But for me, I think Jayden Danns, phenomenal player. Youth football, easy, you know, scoring goals left, right and centre. Scored so many goals last season as well. Obviously getting to the first team, scores there again, scores now again under the new manager. So, you know, things are really looking up for him, if I'm being totally honest with you. And I think just get that move, get some football under your belt, come back, see if you can get some goals as well. Obviously, let's hope it doesn't go the same way I would say someone like a 𝐷𝐻𝐻, his kind of low movers has kind of gone, you know, this season, you know, manager getting sacked and things like that. Let's see if he can just have a really, really good loan move, and then we can keep it pushing from there. But there you guys have it. Thank you for watching this video, or listening to this video if you got your headphones on, guys. Make sure you're always smashing the like, sharing and subscribing. Let me know in the comment section, how far can these three youngsters go? Can you see any of them making a mark for the team this season? And if so, what kind of impact do you think they'll have? And if not, let me know what kind of impact you think they'll have at Liverpool Football Club. Let me know in the comment section. I can't wait to read all your comments. Big up to your damn selves. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.